Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me for the Ski Summit show, where we talk about Colorado Mountain real estate, local news, local real estate, and tips that I can offer you. Today, I'm going to take you behind the Summit MLS curtain, and this is the 26th of January. I'm your host, Matt Dayton with Cornerstone Real Estate. So we're going to have speaking to one of our local title experts today. So, of course, I've got my producer and live stream sidekick, Benji, with Benji Does. Benji, thanks for being here and all that you do.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love doing this.
Thanks for being a part of it and monitoring the chat today. So if you have any questions or comments or anything, feel free to chime in with those, and Benji will be monitoring that. So, anywho, Gena Osborn with Title Company the Rockies. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, Gena, I really wanted to get you on the show because you've been such a great resource for myself, many of my clients. And when it comes to title insurance, you guys have great tools and so much knowledge to impart. So just glad you can be here. So let's start with a little bit about what is title insurance? That's maybe be the first question.
Right. So title insurance, unlike your normal health insurance or car insurance, those things are, you get your policy and then it's everything covered for the future. Title policy is actually going to be insured from your closing to everything backwards. So what it does is it insures the chain of title and makes sure that everything was conveyed correctly previously. And if it wasn't, then title insurance is going to cover that. So what we're doing is we're going in and kind of cleaning everything up. So we go in and we research it. As soon as we get the title commitment or the contract, we're going in and looking to see the chain of title and doing research on it right away. And that's where we're going in and seeing if anything needs to be cleaned up prior to closing. And we're here to help make sure everything is done before the closing time. So what this does is it ensures that it's a clean and marketable title to the buyer. So when the buyer buys it, it's clean and marketable title and it's cleaned up. And if there's any issues that come up in the future that can be costly issues, then your title insurance is going to be covered. So that's what it's doing, is it's covering any defects in the chain of title.
Yeah, one of the things that we've seen come around kind of as recently, I actually had a client over in Breckenridge whose property came on the market listed with a realtor out of Colorado Springs, and it was super cheap and didn't seem right. So reached out to him, and sure enough, he didn't list his property. And now, is that something like, let's say there was a scam, the property got sold, it's a mess because he didn't sell his property. Is that something title insurance would cover? I'm curious because we're seeing more of that.
Right. It would cover it if you had title insurance. But that's really what our job is, to go in and really research it. So it probably wouldn't have gone all the way to closing if we were researching it and you had title insurance and you had an escrow and title company involved, then it probably wouldn't have gone to closing. But sometimes you can see those with for sale by owners. And that's typically where those will be at, is a for sale by owner, where they might not go through a title company, but that's the reason why we always recommend that there is title insurance and a title company involved in a closing, because, it's a big asset and we want to make sure that it's protected.
Yeah. Now it's required by the state, right?
Title insurance?
Yeah.
No.
It's not required by the state.
Yeah, okay. No, it's not required by the state. I mean, people can still do any kind of quitclaim deed or any kind of deed for transferring. So no, it's not required, but definitely, you want to have it because, like I said, it is a big investment, even on land. It is a big investment, and you want to make sure it's conveyed correctly.
Oh, and it's, for what it is, it's the best money spent on insurance, in my opinion. So
exactly.
Yeah. So how much is title insurance, speaking of that, and who generally?
Yeah, so title insurance, it varies in the price, and it's based on the sales price. So the rates are based on the sales price. Just as an example, if you had $1 million transaction, if you had $1 million property that you were selling, It'd be roughly about $2,500 for title insurance. Now, Title Company of the Rockies, we represent 6 different underwriters. So we're always checking to make sure that we have the best coverage at the most competitive rate for every transaction. So we're able to shop around with different underwriters. But so that would be roughly what the cost would be. And then there's owner's extended coverage. But I can talk a little bit about kind of what title insurance does cover. So just some examples of like what title insurance would cover if there was a defect in the policy is like federal and state liens. Also, if there's encumbrances. So encumbrances are financial burdens against the property. So that could be like a mortgage, a HELOC, which is a line of credit, restrictive covenants, those type things. Mechanics liens would be another protection that we would cover. So a mechanics lien is if there was work done on the property and wasn't paid, the vendor wasn't paid, they can put a lien on your property for that. Also, like if previous titles and deeds were not transferred correctly, then we would go in and clean those up. So those are kind of some of the examples of some coverage where there could be some defects in the title. So again, like I said, once we get the contract once somebody goes under contract and we get the transaction, then we're starting a title search. So we're going back, researching everything recorded, anything that's been of public record. So we're going in and checking all that and checking and creating a title commitment. So the commitment, what that is it's our commitment to the buyer of what we're going to cover under the title insurance once it's closed. So the title commitment is going to have a lot of sections to it. We highly recommend that everyone looks through the title commitment. There's going to be links in the title commitment to actual documents. So it's important to kind of look through that. So I'll just run quick real through what a title commitment looks like. Is that okay?
That'd be great.
Perfect. So a title commitment like Schedule A is going to have all your information on the property information, legal description. It's going to have the grantor, the grantee, the buyer, the seller information on there. It's also going to have the sales price. So you want to look through that and make sure everything looks correct because that's how we're going to deed in for the new the warranty deed. And then we've got Schedule B1, and that's going to be your requirements. The requirements are going to be things that need to be cleaned up before closing. And those are things that our escrow agents work with to get cleaned up before they actually do close. So some examples of some requirements, some basic ones that typically show up on there is if the seller has a loan, we're going to require that at the time of closing, we're collecting the funds and paying off the lender so that they can release that deed of trust so that the mortgage is released. So that's an example of a requirement. Another requirement that we might have is if the seller is an LLC or is in a trust, then we're going to require them to give us their operating agreement or their trust agreement, because what that's going to show us is who can actually sign for that transaction. So again, we want to make sure that that's the proper person signing. The trust might be under 2 people's names, but maybe both don't need to sign, or maybe on the trust agreement, it does require that both spouses sign for those type transactions. And then the Schedule B2 is going to be exceptions. So those are things that the title insurance is not going to cover. So those could be like an easement, mineral rights, CC&Rs, which is your covenants and restrictions for your neighborhood. So those are things that typically are not covered under title insurance, but that's something that you want to look at. Again, there's always links on the title commitment that will show you what the CC&Rs are, so that you want to look through that before you're buying a property. So those are kind of what the title commitment looks like. And then title insurance, what that does is it pays for the cost to defend any claim in the future. So, but again, we're cleaning up a lot of the title work so that hopefully there is, everything's free and clear and there is no issues in the future. So there's that policy. So that's more of an owner's policy. And then there's a lender's policy. So if there is a lender involved, they're going to require a lender policy. And what that does is that guarantees the lender. So the person who gives you the loan, it provides them the same insurance as well. So that's at a considerably less amount, the lender policy, but lenders do require that because they want to be covered as well, since they are, that it's their property until it's paid off with the loan. So that's a little bit about like what title insurance is and what it covers and all that. There's also owner's extended coverage.
Yeah.
So owner's extended coverage is for such a minimal cost, you can get additional coverage. And that's usually under $100. So typically a couple of the vendors that we use for owner's extended coverage is going to be $65 or $75. All the premiums are a flat premium. You pay one time at the closing and you're covered. So it's not like it's a monthly or yearly fee. It's just a one-time at closing premium that you pay. But owner's extended coverage, what that's going to do is it's going to take away exceptions 1 through 4 on the exceptions. So those are standard exceptions. So for, like I said, a small price, you're going to get additional coverage. So the owner's extended coverage is going to protect against unrecorded, a lot of the unrecorded, like your unrecorded easements or your unrecorded mechanics liens, unpaid taxes, and survey issues is another one on that. So like I said, for owner's extended coverage for less than $100, it's worth it to add that additional on there.
Yeah, hands down. It seems like that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. No, that's super helpful. And I mean, it's the value of what that brings with the, just having that coverage and having that peace of mind.
Exactly.
It seems like some of the best insurance money they could spend. And you guys do so much more than that. I mean, it's just like you guys have so many great tools that you provide for us and as realtors and for our buyers and sellers, and just helping really just guide the process and the contract to closing. So I don't know how we do it without you guys. So thank you for all you do.
And I was going to mention too on the rates when you talked about the rates. So we also have reissue rates. So you do get discounts on if you had title insurance done in the last 5 years as well. So if you sold your property or if you purchased your property within the last 5 years, even if we didn't do the transaction, you get a reissue rate on that title price that I was quoting. So like $1 million was $2,500. It would be 50% of that if you had title insurance done. And that can also be if you had a refinance done in the last 5 years, you probably had title insurance done on your refinance. So that will also get you 50% off. So there's a big savings there as well.
Yeah.
To be able to do something, be able to do a reissue rate in the last 5 years. And typically the title insurance is paid for by the seller, but that is always a negotiating point. And the reason why the seller typically pays the title insurance premium is because they're guaranteeing to the buyer that they're giving them a clean and marketable title. And if it's not, then they're providing that insurance that yes, it will be covered if it's not. So, but again, a negotiating point, talk to your realtor on that as they can guide you.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. So,
yeah.
Well, that's great. No, I think those are the main questions that we had today. So those definitely answer them.
Okay.
So we have the real estate tip or the real estate question of the day. And I know you guys run into this, Gena, is FIRPTA. I know it's not a very common thing,
Right.
but definitely a big deal if you do run into it. So what's FIRPTA stand for?
So FIRPTA stands for Foreign Investment in Real Estate Tax Act. So it's when there's a foreign seller on the transaction. What we're doing at Title Company of the Rockies is we're collecting typically, and it will vary depending on the transaction, but if it is a foreign seller, there are exceptions. So if they can prove that they, don't need to pay it, but typically we're collecting 15% of the sales price at the time of closing. And then we're forwarding that to the IRS directly. Because, there's taxes due when you're doing, when you sell property. And when you are working with a foreign seller, we're collecting the funds, sending it to the IRS, and then if there's any funds due back to the seller, then they'll get it through the IRS directly. Because the buyer does get involved in this. If you're doing a transaction with a foreign seller and they don't collect 15% or whatever amount and pay to the IRS, then it becomes a buyer's issue. So we're just trying to protect everyone on that. We always, with a seller, foreign seller, we always also suggest that they talk to a qualified tax consultant, because there's a lot of issues with it. And that's not something that we can advise people on their taxes. So we always suggest that they talk to their tax accountant on that. But yes, FERTA doesn't happen often, but when it does, we want to make sure we handle it correctly.
Yeah, need to be on top of that.
Yep.
Okay, and so question of the day, and totally real estate unrelated, title insurance unrelated. You've been up here since early 90s?
Late 80s.
Late 80s even. Okay, all right. What is your favorite restaurant in Summit County? If you had to pick one.
Well, I live in Breckenridge, so I love Blue River Bistro. I just think that they always have great lunches, dinner, good happy hours. So yes, Blue River Bistro is one of my go-tos for their favorite restaurant in town.
That is a good call. Have you tried Bistro North?
Yes, I have. And
They
if
own
we're
that same
if we're
owners.
down in Silverthorne, yes, and same menu, which is great because
Yeah.
Jay does it right down in Blue River Bistro and
Yeah.
Bistro North. Mhm.
Yeah, Bistro North has become one of our new favorites. We're on that
Yeah.
in the county. So
Oh, good.
yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, Gina, definitely stick around here. We're gonna just go over some local news, and I know you've been following it and reading it. It affects all of us with Summit County, but the latest just out in the paper today is all this stuff about. Again, it's just it's the Summit County short-term rental rules adjusted. So that it's not voted on yet, but this is basically what they're electing to do. The county council is to they were talking about doing a limit on the number of nights that you could rent short-term rent to about 135 nights. Well, they've changed that instead of capping for bookings at 26 bookings. So again, this hasn't happened yet, but this is probably what's going to happen middle of February is Summit County, unincorporated Summit County. So this doesn't include Breckenridge, Frisco, Silverthorne, Dillon. These are places that are not within town limits. Also doesn't include Keystone or Copper because those are considered resort zones. But 26 bookings basically is going to say that doesn't matter if it's 2 nights or 2 weeks, you get 26 bookings. So that's something to be aware of. That's going to come into effect for everybody, probably 2025. But if you get a new license, you're already underneath that. And then they will also be doing caps. Chris, if you scroll down a little bit on that article, talks a bit about, so we're looking at about 5 to 18% caps for different areas. Give you an example, Wilderness outside of Silverthorne, lots of condos up there. They are going to have a 15% cap is what they're proposing. And they had an attrition of about 1% since 2021 from 19 to 18. So they're thinking about 2024, maybe 2025, that we'll start to see those licenses come available again. So that'll be voted on here soon, but that's probably what's coming down the pike. So that's Gina, you've heard tons of this stuff. It's been the talk of the town for quite a while. So I know it's
definitely a hot topic.
It's a resounding gong. It's like but we got to find a balance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people got to have a place to live, but we also got to have a place, places for people to come and stay. And, everybody's got their own opinion on it, but it's a challenging issue. So no doubt about that. I'm
just glad I'm not on Summit County Council and having to handle this.
I am so glad I'm not on that council. So that would be I do feel for him because that is I think at the end of the article it said nobody, you got a good resolution if nobody's happy. So unfortunately, that might be true. So it seems like everybody's up in arms about it. So maybe there's a good middle ground. I don't know. So, but let's. So next, we're going to just dive into the MLS a little bit. Just a quick little view of that. Let me share my screen here, show you guys what's going on, and we've got over the past weeks, the past 7 days, residential, looking at Summit County, Breckenridge, Keystone, Frisco, Dillon, Silverthorne, Copper Mountain, and this also Park County. It's just over the pass. So new listings, we had 16 new listings, 29 go under contract, and 6 back on the market. So you can see we've got more going under contract than coming on the market. Continue to see this little bit of a decrease in our inventory, just kind of gets chipped away at. And hopefully we'll see stuff come more on the market in March, going into spring. We'll see a lull as we go through the quote unquote mud season. We used to have a mud season, right, Gena? That's no mud season anymore.
Not much anymore.
No. And then we'll see things probably tick up as we go into the summer months. That's usually when we see more inventory come on. So new listings, see if there's anything exciting in here today that just jumps out. There's kind of a number of things over the pass, a few things over there in Park County. Quicksilver condo, Keystone, rentable. Not going to be any restrictions on that. So that one is right over near Keystone Resort Mountain. So you got a 1-bedroom for $625. I like these because they're bigger. So you get 966 square feet in that. Gives you a lot of space. They got pool, they got amenities, bus stops not far. So great condo for having something that's rentable, and a ski condo. Timber Ridge condo. So we got a 2-bedroom Timber Ridge. There's a number of these on the market right now that are up in wilderness area. Again, this is one of the areas that I talked about that is going to have those short-term rental restrictions. So they're having a little harder time with their market up there, but we are starting to see those move a little bit. Frisco, Meadow Creek Villa condo. I do like that this one's got some great views. It's got a parking garage. So just easy access to the bike path, ride your bike into town. Not quite walking distance into Frisco Main Street, but you could certainly hop on the bike path there. So that one is a 2-bedroom for $785. If you need a place over in Park County with a big garage, there's one. And a couple things and new things in Copper. Really sharp looking place on Lake Dillon, Lake Cliff condo, totally remodeled there. And this guy, Peak 7, nice looking house up on Peaks. This one's going to have just nice space, nice garage, great views. So, and the pavement. So a lot of Peak 7 stuff is on the dirt. So this one's not far off the pavement. Unincorporated Summit County. So it's going to fall under the upper blue. Let's see. Yeah. The upper blue basin, restrictions for that. So, let's see, Keystone Arapahoe Lodge, 4-bedroom. This one's pretty cool, actually. We don't see very many of these, but you got great views of the mountain right out Keystone. Kind of a cool, modern,
very nice
look. And I like these, the gold that they've incorporated. You guys seen a lot of that? I've seen some of that, just that gold, like the gold's back.
Yeah.
So little bling.
That picture up above the kitchen area looks like me with horns.
Yeah, right. Some
bald guy.
Some bald guy with horns. Nice rack. So anyway, yeah. So that's a kind of a unique property right there, in the heart of Keystone, just like steps from the gondola. So that's pretty cool. And then an East Keystone Ranch place out there, single family home. This one, I was in this years ago when it was on the market, but just the ranch back in Keystone. It'll take me a second to share this tab instead. This is this is going to get you back into just a really quiet area of the Keystone Ranch. You've got trails back in around there. Colorado Trail is just right back here, so you can just ride your bike or hike up onto the Colorado Trail. So that is that's kind of cool up in there. So anywho, stop sharing that guy. Clicking all over the place. So that's a little bit of an insight as to what we've got going on for new listings. And I lost my. Sorry, it'll take me just a second to get back in there because I accidentally just closed out the screen. So, but as far as things that are coming on the market, take you into, or things that are going under contract, we've again seen a little bit of an uptick. Gina, are you seeing a lot more business in the title world?
Yeah, within the last week or so, we're starting to see some more contracts coming through. So I think we kind of mentioned a little bit before, but I feel like the interest rates are starting to come down a little bit more. So I do feel like we're getting some more orders, which is great to see. Nice trend.
Yeah, it's encouraging for
Yes.
sure. So we need that.
Yes.
Okay, so now got back to this screen here. So we'll check out things that have gone under contract. So we had actually 29 things go under contract. So just a quick view of what that is. Kind of on the less expensive end, a lot of stuff out of the area here. This was one I've been watching for a while. This Timber Ridge condo. I thought this was actually a good buy. So there's that that wilderness area going under contract. Really, really dated, but it's like grandma's Buick in the garage. That one.
Totally, that's the vibes I was getting as well.
It was like so immaculate and like so well cared for, but so dated.
You can make it your own.
Yeah, almost back in style. So another one up in wilderness. So we're starting to see these things go under contract. 1 bedroom stuff, getting close to slopes. Those have been hot. Moving a lot of those. Dillon's an area. Here's a Merino Place condo. Dillon's an area where you can short-term rent. They don't have any caps in there. Wow, that house has been on for a while. They remodeled this one, and that's been on for a long time. That one's been on for a long time. Really seeing some movement in our market on some stuff that's been sitting, that didn't, that just kind of been waiting for it to go. So, and then this brand new one up on Peak 7, that was the top listing, just under 3 million. That went under like really quick. 4-bedroom place, just under 3 million. So, and then last but not least, let's take a quick look at what's been selling or what's been closing. So just to get an idea, just a little bit of a gauge of what's our difference between list and sale price. And that, again, still on the lesser expensive stuff, still pretty tight. Still a lot of stuff that's not that far off of list price. Kind of still looking in that we average about 90 right now. We're averaging about 90% list price. You get up there a little bit higher, a bit bigger discounts, but when you look at $2,350,000 place and 50,000 off, it's still fairly tight. So here's one that was 2 million, went a little bit over. So we're still seeing good demand. Doesn't seem to be coming off a lot there, despite the interest rates. We saw a lot more of the price decreases earlier, or I'd say mid 2022, and now we're kind of more leveled off. So anyway, well, that's let's see. Do I got anything else, Benji? Or I think I covered it all.
We did the MLS check, local news, FERPTA. I don't know why. Every time I love saying FERPTA.
Sounds like it needs some Pepto Bismol.
Got that FERPTA.
Again. So this is fun. Well, awesome. Gena, thanks for being here. Really
Thanks.
appreciate your time and your wisdom. And Benji, thanks a lot for keeping us on track here. Thanks so much for joining us for the Summit Ski Show. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a like in the link below, share us on social media, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to check the description for links, things we mentioned in the episode. I'm Matt Dayton, Ski Summit Show. Hope to see you in the mountains soon. Have a wonderful day.